As a young citizen of India, armed with technology, knowledge, and love for my nation, with a vision of transforming India into a developed nation, I'm joining Shobhit University. What about you?
Very good morning to all the participants from India and abroad. Soviet Institute of Engineering and Technology Meerut, a NAC accredited with A grade deemed to be university, and its centers of excellence, Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies, and Center for Agribusiness and Disaster Management Studies, extend greetings to all the participants from India and abroad who are attending today's national webinar series on doubling farmers' income by 2022, Atmanirbhar Bharat in Agriculture. The webinar series is being hosted on every Thursday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Today is 9th March 2023 and it is 108th edition. On behalf of the Honorable Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the faculty members of the university, and on my behalf, and as Professor Emeritus and Chairman of Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Study and Center for Agribusiness and Disaster Management Studies, Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications, Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Application, and Center for Health Informatics and Computing. Let me welcome today's guest speaker, Dr. Pranab Ranjan Choudhury, founder, Center for Land Governance, a leading land think tank around land governance policy and research in India and globally, Bhubaneswar, to deliver the talk in the 108th edition of this national webinar series. I wish to inform the participants and the speaker that the university regularly conducts two webinar series, namely National Webinar Series on Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022, Atmanirbhar Bharat in Agriculture, on every Thursday, and International Webinar Series on Open Source Digital Technologies towards Self-Reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, on every Saturday. For the benefits of the participants and the guest speakers so far, this webinar series, under this webinar series, the university has organized 107 webinars on very important topic. For the benefit of the participants and the speaker, let me list out only the titles. Role of agriculture cooperative societies and e-governance. Blockchain technology-based fishery value chain. Self-contained village, a felt need of the day. Spices informatics network value chain. Lantana camera, a camouflaged treasure trove. Smart hill agriculture, a digitalized hill agriculture value system. Mara mobile, Mara marketing, integrated mariculture, aquaponics, and precision agriculture. MAPA biofarms for income revolution. Smart tribal agriculture, optimizing value chain. Digital agri-tech and industry perspective. Land resources information system in India, present and road ahead. Land resources information system in India, present and road ahead. Weather decision technologies for increasing farm income. Big data in smart farming. Sustainable soil and land management for climate smart agriculture. Understanding market dynamics for increasing farm income. Role of technologies in mitigating crop risk. How to generate additional profit via simple, attractive approaches in farm produce. Adoption of flexi rubber check dam technology. Potential benefit for farmers in rainfed and coastal agro ecosystems. Realizing the economic benefits of agroforestry. Octasol, organic humic solutions for increasing crop yields and quality while increasing farm income and improving soil health. Closing the nutrient loop. Phosphorus management in protein farming, improving nutrient use efficiency and farm productivity. Artificial intelligence enabled pest management technology for agriculture crop protection without pesticides. Empowering farmers through extension and knowledge dissemination. Agrobiodiversity, intellectual property laws, agriculture and farmers' welfare, and insight into the issues for India's agrarian economy. Smart poultry monitoring solutions, manufacture and application of biochar for increased soil fertility and crop productivity. Sustainable integration of livestock with agriculture for farm income increase. Role of geographical indications on improving farmers' income, lessons from Asia Pacific region. Dairy Informatics Network Value Chain, a dairy tech startup perspective for farmers' income increase. Spices Informatics Network Value Chain, a turmeric startup perspective for farmers' income increase. Generating sustainable on-farm income through fintech intervention. Nutrition sensitive agriculture, pathway for increasing farmer income. Artificial intelligence and data analytics to ensure for optimal nutrition in the soil, harvested food that minimizes human disease, bioenergy supply chain, a business opportunity for rural enterprises and farmer produce organization, tech enabling India's tech-starved farmers for manifold increase in productivity and income, open insurance ecosystem for agriculture produce, risk management solutions to overcome repercussions on farmers' income, market stability, and food safety. Role of mass media for farmers' income increase, a case study from Green TV. Stack, Agriculture Stack, open source digital infrastructure for the agriculture ecosystem, a Linux Foundation project. Circular bioeconomy towards resilience, urgent need for redefining raw materials and modified waste management policies and regulations. Agri-tech, new horizon in Indian agriculture. Supporting of farmers for marketing will only help doubling of income by 2022. Rural transformation for farmers' income increase. Case studies from impoverished districts. Mobile enabled software as a service to solve complex supply chain challenges. John Deere's journey in India, integrated precision agriculture solutions, doubling the income of farmers through eco-agri revolution. Bayer's carbon farming initiatives, post-production intervention, maximizing value for farmers. BAIF models of revival of traditional water management systems to enable doubling of farmers' income. Should we adopt farmers' welfare as a new paradigm instead of farmers' income? ICT intervention in agriculture, challenges and opportunities, democratizing the future of farming, a global experience. Commercial processing of fodder, next game changer in dairy. Data-driven agriculture and agri-tech startup perspective. Agribusiness potential in Moringa. Agricultural income pathways, strengthening links between agriculture activities and nutrition outcome. Technology, education, research, and rehabilitation for the environment. Cultivating dignity for farmers. Model Village Development Program, a case study from Maharashtra. Market-driven agriculture, need for development of crop-specific strategies at the block level. Farmers collective with value addition. Powerful business model for income increase for small and marginal farmers. Lessons from Operation Flood for transforming agriculture and food systems. Sustainable food production. Agriculture marketing in India, defects therein and remedial measures, if any. Small-scale fisheries and their contribution to rural livelihoods, case studies from developing countries. Impacting lives through livelihood promotion and value chain development, case study of Vritti impact model. Organic spices cultivation for doubling farmers' income in the northeastern region of India, a value chain analysis. Agriculture export management, imperatives of integrating with the global value chain at the earliest. Agriculture value chain, challenges and opportunities. Dairy husbandry for food security and national prosperity. Mushroom cultivation, a way towards self-reliance from agriculture waste and providing nutritional food security to the nation. Subhas Palekar's natural farming, future of farming rooted in Indian tradition. Vision 2025, agriculture and allied sectors viewpoint. Doubling farmer income of tribal families through value chain intervention and minor forest produce. A case study on custard apple value chain from Udaipur, Rajasthan. Unnati Agri, Internet in farmlands, key for prosperous farmers. Jackfruit Informatics Network value chain, a needed digital infrastructure for increasing farmers' income. Doubling of farmers' income through integrated agri-value chain. Potential role of minor fruits in achieving nutritional and livelihood security. Fisheries Informatics Network value chain, a case study from Manja Technologies. Untapped potential for growth, co-create solutions to realize gains for farms, households, and communities. Neem trees, sustainable solution to livelihood, chemical-free nutritious food, and global warming. One district, one product, informatics network value chain, key to unlocking India's potential of agri exports. Village e-commerce, challenges, barriers, potentials in rural India. Export promotion of GI tagged agriculture products from India, issues, challenges, and potential. Doubling Indian farmers through income through indigenous cows, opportunities and challenges. Livestock insurance ecosystem, a necessity for smallholder farmers in India. Innovative future farming, need for design of agriculture. Empowering rural farmers by co-creating value-added products and agri-tech entrepreneurs, perspective. Food value chain, issues, challenges, and potential. Animal health industry, quality, innovation, talent, and technology have power to transform. Farm linked activities and secondary agriculture, empowering small and marginal farmers in India. Harnessing opportunities in rainfed areas, pathway to prosperity. Agri entrepreneurship development, pathway for farming as a service. Agricultural resources information system and micro level planning for enhancing farm health, key to achieving the doubling farmers' income by 2022 agenda put forth. Growth and structural transformation in agriculture in India, moving to the next level. Fisheries value chain, empowering fisher folk and allied workers through digitalized fishery input management system. Village level cooperatives, a proven model to elevate farmer from their poverty. Experience sharing on entrepreneurial journey in secondary agriculture. AgroCrate, an AI-powered physical infrastructure enabling digital trade in fruits and vegetables. Innovation for waste to wealth. Development of livelihood activities among tribals through Nature Science Foundation. Promoting rainwater harvesting through direct borewell recharge for rural transformation. Smart and collaborative agriculture, the way of the future. Climate resilient smart hill agriculture, Jawad Hills 2050. Prime Minister Wi-Fi access network interface, PM Moni. Entrepreneurship opportunities for small and micro business in agriculture. Pay Agri. Market linkage to farmers through digitalized agri value chain. Jackfruit informatics network value chain and ecosystem architecture. Doubling farmers' income. The brown revolution, the sweet revolution. Today is the 108th edition. It will be addressed by Dr. Pranab Ranjan Choudhury, founder, Center for Land Governance, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, on a very important topic, land policy reform for doubling farm income. Keywords: land policy reforms, doubling farmers' income. India is said to be a land of villages. Acharya Vinoba Bhave said, India is largely an agriculture country, Krishi Pradhan Desh, and a country of villages having more than 6.25 lakh villages. Agriculture sector is the foundation of Indian economy. It employs more than 50% of the India's workforce and contributes almost 17 to 18% of its GDP. And it is the main source of food, employment, and income for 70 to 80% of the people suffering from hunger in developing countries. Climate change has both direct and indirect effects on agriculture productivity, including changing rainfall patterns, severe drought, flooding, and changes in the geographical redistribution of pests and diseases. India's labor-intensive and subsistence-based agriculture sector is particularly vulnerable to this development. Farmers of India are facing multidimensional problems: price fluctuation, debt, lack of infrastructure, and weather. Indian farming community comprises of about 14.5 crores operational holding, out of which 85% of the farmers have small and marginal size operational holdings. Many national level programs, be it Digital India 2015, Make in India 2015, Skill India 2015, Startup India 2015, Stand Up India 2015, have faced operational problems and difficulties for its impact at farm level and farmer level, that too at small and marginal farmers. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi at the 7th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog held on 7th August 2022 in New Delhi, in his opening address, he stressed, I quote, the need to focus on modernized agriculture, modernized animal husbandry, and modernized food processing to become self-sufficient and global leader in the agriculture. In his closing remark, he said, I quote, each state should focus on promoting trade and tourism and technology via every Indian mission around the world. And I would like to quote the recommendations from the Doubling Farmers Income by 2022 Report 2008, popularly known as Dr. Ashok Dalwai Committee Report, with which I was closely associated as a subgroup leader for two volumes, Volume 11 and Volume 12B. Volume 11 talked about empowering the farmers through extension and knowledge dissemination, and Volume 12B is digital technology in agriculture, with the intent to achieve efficiency gains and convert into profitability from farm to fork. And the recommendations is called mission mode programs, which are meant for strategic use of digital technology in farming systems life cycle. And it is described very well in chapter 10 of the volume 12B. So digitalized agriculture, digital technology and innovation in agriculture, synergization of Digital India, Make in India, Skill India, and Startup India programs for transformational reforms in agriculture sector through smart irrigated farming, smart rainfed farming, and smart tribal farming. Digitalized agromet advisories and agriculture risk management solutions, digitalized agricultural resources information systems, and micro level planning for achieving smart village and smart farming. We don't have a comprehensive agricultural resources information system in the country. Digitalized value chain for about 400 agriculture commodities. Digitalized access to inputs, technology, knowledge, skill, agricultural finance, credit, marketing, and agribusiness management to farmers. And digitalized integrated land and water management system. The committee talks about digitalized integrated land and water management system for achieving per drop more crop, and a digitalized farm health management for reduction of farmers' loss means to have an integrated approach of public health, plant health, animal health, soil health, water health, fish health, and environmental health. And we have an Atmanirbhar Bharat. This is the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, of making India a self-reliant nation rested on 5 I's: intent, inclusion, investment, infrastructure, and innovation. And based on 5 pillars: quantum jump in economy, infrastructure, one that represents modern India, system 21st century technology driven, vibrant demography, and demand, whereby the strength of our demand and supply chain should be utilized to full capacity. Vocal for local and make in India for global is the real, mission. And we have Atmanirbhar Bharat in agriculture. And during the COVID pandemic period, and the government has announced 1.5 lakh crore as a booster for agriculture sector. 1 lakh crore to agriculture cooperative societies, farmer produce organization, and startups for boosting farm gate infrastructure. We have Amrit Kal led up to 100. A strategic blueprint for Amrit Kal is also available, which is futuristic and inclusive. And we have national logistic policy, which talks about development of unified logistic interface platform. And also would like to quote our Prime Minister's historic Independence Day speech on 15th August 2022. During his speech, he gave to the nation, 5 pledges for achieving what we want by 2047. Goal of developed India: remove any trace of colonial mindset, take pride in our roots, unity, and sense of duty among the citizens. And India's budget 2023-24 talks about Saptarishi priorities. And it also talks about that the world has recognized India's economy as a bright star in the 75th year of India's independence. And the economic growth is estimated at a 7% growth. And also outlined 7 priorities called Saptarishi that would guide India's vision during Amrit Kal next to 25 years. And the budget also has announced a digital public infrastructure for agriculture would be built as open source, open standard, and interoperable public good that would help develop farmer-centric solutions for crop planning. And Indian budget has also tried to revolutionize the sector by encouraging agri-startup and natural farming. We have 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and Agenda 2030. So 17 sustainable goals and 169 targets to be achieved. Today's topic is land policy reforms for doubling farm income. Land reforms in India, for the benefits of the participants, let me give a brief, details about this. Land reforms in India. Land reform refers to efforts to reform the ownership and regulation of land in India, or those lands which are redistributed by the government from landholders to landless people for agriculture or special purpose is known as land reform. Land distribution has been the part of India's state policy from the very beginning. Independent India's most revolutionary land policy was perhaps the abolition of zamindari systems, feudal landholding practices. Land reform policy in India had two specific objectives. The first is to remove such impediments to increase in agriculture production, as arise from the agrarian structure inherited from the past. The second objective, which is closely related to the first, is to eliminate all the elements of exploitation and social injustice within the agrarian system, to provide security for the tiller of the soil and assure equality of status and opportunity to all sections of the rural populations. This is Government of India 1961 report as quoted by Appu PS 1996, land reforms in 1995. There are 6 main categories of the reforms: abolition of intermediaries, tenancy regulations, sealing on land holdings, attempts to consolidate disparate land holdings, encouragement of cooperative joint farming, and settlement and regulation of tenancy. Role of land reforms in agriculture development. And this I quote from a report available in the internet resources in the month of December 2020. One of the key objectives of land reforms has been to increase agriculture productivity. Land reforms and agriculture productivity. Experts bring out following relationship between land reforms and agriculture productivity. Small farms tend to be more productive than large farms. Hypothesis. This inverse farm size productivity relationship is widely documented by economists. The inverse relationship between farm size and productivity suggests that land reforms could raise productivity by breaking large farms into small farms, several small farms. Owner cultivated plots of land tend to be more productive than those under sharecropping tenancy. On the other hand, some experts advocate land consolidation due to the growing pressure of population on land and the limited opportunities for work in the non-agricultural sector. There is an increasing trend towards subdivision and fragmentation of land holdings. Consolidation plots makes the task of irrigation management, land improvement, and personal supervision of different plots efficient and easier, thereby improving productivity. Agriculture credit. Access to credit becomes easier due to land ownership under the tenancy law. Access to credit and increase in land holdings incentivize farmers to invest in new farming practices. Access to credit and increase in land holdings incentivize farmers to invest in new farming practices. Wastelands are reclaimed and production increased, resulting in food sufficiency. Modernizing agriculture. Technology has touched the agriculture practice in India and has brought manifold advantages which are evident since the Green Revolution. Today, the Green Revolution is green, G-R-I-N, genomics, robotics, informatics, and nanotechnology. And land being its basis has to stay in tandem with the technology changes for maximum benefits. Technological advancement in the field of information dissemination, micro irrigation, marketing, storage, and transportation, etc., have provided an unique opportunity to make otherwise averse, forming an attractive employment, especially for rural youths. This is where the recommendation of Dr. Ashok Dalwai Committee on doubling farmers' income in 2022 report 2018, chapter 10, 7 mission mode program on digital technology in agriculture will become more meaningful, and it can result in one agri-tech startup per each gram panchayat. It means 2.25 lakh, agri-tech startup at gram panchayat level. In the boom in fintech companies, land reforms have expected to make lending to farmers easier by providing land records and land use history. Payment banks in future will also be eligible to lend. Technology has made a price discovery platform like eNAM and forward marketing, negotiating warehouse receipts, and storage of produce easier. But land required for this will need easier land acquisition process. Land required for this will need easier land acquisition process. These are all modernizing agriculture, title. In the context of globalization, it is clear that small and marginal farmers are handicapped when it comes to participation in domestic and foreign markets. Their competitiveness is hampered due to the small size of land holdings and low output of production. Tenancy reforms can redress the issue by regulating aspects of tenancy relationship, such as crop share and the duration of contracts. Tenancy reform increase the bargaining power of the tenants vis-a-vis landowners. Relationship between land reforms, agricultural productivity, and elimination of poverty. Oppressive land relations were certainly barrier to growth, and land reforms have created preconditions favorable for growth. Because the majority of the land's population depends upon land for their livelihood, poverty issues are closely associated with the land policy. Land administration means land tenure. It has, various actions to achieve. The objectives are land tenure, land value, land use, and land development. And above land administration, you have the caption land management and then land policy. According to Professor V.M. Rao, land reforms have to serve as a link helping integration of growth policies with poverty alleviation programs. Such integration is necessary to focus on the development strategy as a whole and not merely the individual schemes and programs on the rural laborers and poor. At the ground level, land reforms and improved access to common lands needed to be part of the package of measures specifically designed to the requirement of different subgroup of rural laborers and poor. Ultimate goal of land reforms and other structural reforms is to promote the emergence of a viable and modernized peasantry consisting of small farmers and providing as much room as possible for the landless to enter the peasant sector, farm sector. Land equity, marginalized farmer got ownership over more land area and thus increase in social status. Protection of the tribals. Land reforms are significant here since land is the main source of livelihood for the tribal people. They do not have much upward mobility. That's where the smart tribal farming recommendation from the Dr. Ashok Dalwai Committee report. Abolition of Jamindari system curtailed exploitative practices such as bonded labor. Watershed development programs has been one of the important land policy interventions in the recent past, has impacted poverty alleviation, conflict management, and environmental management very significantly. National policy on land record. The Ministry of Land Rural Development brought out a vision document for computerization of land records in 1991 to bring uniformity in land administration. This document, for the first time, spoke about the standardization of land information system, formulating and implementing a national policy on land records is now due. Conclusion: An egalitarian society cannot be created until land reforms are undertaken efficiently. With increasing farmer distress, failing productivity levels, and rising suicides, land reforms provide a means to alleviate rural distress. However, this agenda is still unfinished and needs to be effectively revisited and fairly implemented. According to the synopsis of the guest speaker, formalizing land leasing is therefore critical for inclusive agriculture transformation in India. In its report outlining a roadmap for doubling farmers' income, DFI, the Niti Aayog highlights the need to reform state-level leasing policies to remove restriction as key to this agenda. Digital India Land Records Modernization Program has also been recognized as a key to doubling farmers' income. Since computerization and updating a land records mitigates land dispute and facilitates access to institutional credit. However, these impacts may not be fully achieved unless tenants' rights are incorporated into the land records, given that up to 30% of the farmers are tenants. Mr. Speaker, you have well said. Let us now turn to the address by Pranab Ranjan Choudhury, the founder, Center for Land Governance, a leading land think tank around land governance, policy, and research in India and globally, located, located at Bhubaneswar, Odisha, and he will speak on very important topic: land policy reforms for doubling farmers' income. This topic will motivate and galvanize the participants watching over telecast through facebook.com Shobhit University India, youtube.com Shobhit University in, or linkedin.com company Shobhit University, for establishing agri-tech startups, digital infrastructure in association with land governance think tank, facilitating agriculture and rural transformation in India, in rural India, that is villages. His talk will summarize post-independence land tenancy reforms in India and their impacts on the agriculture sector, analyze the Model Act and recent state-level reforms, and offers recommendation for improving the content, adoption, and implementation of the state reforms. Building entrepreneurship in each and every Gram Panchayat level for effective utilization of the resources would make tremendous contribution towards rural development. Let us unlock the opportunities in India at the earliest. Let me introduce the guest speaker to the audience. Now let me invite the guest speaker to address the webinar series. Mr. Manish, can you put the profile? Pranab Ranjan Choudhury, founder, Center for Land Governance, a leading land think tank around land governance policy and research in India and globally, Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Pranab Ranjan Choudhury is a passionate researcher and an empathetic soul, eager to contribute to sustainability and equity globally and locally. For more than 25 years, he has been working around interdisciplinary issues related to natural resources management and governance in global South with governments, DFIs, and international Indian NGOs and international NGOs and communities. Pranab Ranjan Choudhury started his journey as a scientist with India's National Agricultural Research System, NARS, developing model watersheds to restore hill landscape and tribal livelihoods that led to the prestigious national award in 2002. To serve the development sector more flexibly, he left his job after a decade, and since then he has expanded his engagements around water, livelihoods, forestry, and land, building evidences and making recognizable impacts at the national and international level. He has led and guided large-scale bilateral and multi-country projects around climate change, food security, forestry, land livelihoods, and has accompanied and evaluated donor-funded projects around natural resource management, livelihoods, and value chain projects across South Asia. Pranab Ranjan Choudhury founded and leads the Center for Land Governance, which in a short span of 8 years has been acknowledged as a leading land think tank around land governance policy and research in India and globally. CLG's work spans across rural, urban, forest, and agriculture landscapes, cross-cutting gender, technology, justice, and sustainability. Apart from engaging on policy and action research with governments, the multilateral and development finance institution, DFIs, academics, NGOs, and private sector, Center for Land Governance organizes an annual India Land and Development Conference, a unique land convening in South Asia. He also occasionally teaches land-related courses at universities and business schools. Pranab Ranjan Choudhury actively contributes to national and global land initiative as part of global land networks, events, partnership, and through his research as well as writings in peer-reviewed and popular publications towards building a land ecosystem in global south and integrate land tenure to the global and local development agendas. He has been triggering conversations, connection, partnership among land actors and institutions working across sectors and geographies. With this, I invite Dr. Pranab Ranjan Choudhury to the National Webinar Series on Doubling Farmers' Income by 2022 to talk on important topic land policy reforms for doubling farm income in its 108th edition. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it was a very generous and kind introduction to the work of Center for Land Governance and me. And also, I must thank you, because you have done my job much easier by also introducing how land reform is important for enhancing agriculture productivity and also bringing in small farmers into the mainstream. Uh, Let me go to my presentation. I'm just trying to update with uh, a new one. I'll just, but as I have been, as it uploads, let me, okay, just a minute. Okay, I think let us go ahead with this one. Is the slide visible to all of you?
Yes.
So as this particular national webinar series talk about doubling farm income, and when Professor Moni advised me to think about something to speak in this webinar series, I thought whatever I know best now is land policy reform. And fortunately, a couple of years back, we had done two studies. One study for the World Bank, which was entitled Land Policy Reform for Inclusive Agriculture Transformation, where we looked at how the land reform, particularly the present tenancy reform following the model Land Leasing Act after Niti Aayog, how it is critical when you talk about doubling farm income. And also another study that we did after the first study of the World Bank, we tried to look at 4 states of India who have executed this reform. This study was done along with Flame University and IIM Ahmedabad, also Niti Aayog was a knowledge partner, to see what are the early experiences. So whatever I'll be speaking today, we'll be drawing from that. Uh, and the way I've designed the presentation is to share something about Indian tenancy context and the implications for Indian agriculture. Because when I also started studying agriculture science in agriculture universities, we hardly looked at a farmer. We looked at farming more. But as we know, the government of India has been kind enough to revise the name of the ministry. It is not only Minister of Agriculture but also Minister of Farmer Welfare. So farming is not only about technology, not only about agriculture science, it is also about the farmer. And more importantly, when farmer tills the land, it is the farmer-land relation that really you know, influence the way farming would be done. For example, the way tenant do a farming, the way women do a farming, the way agriculture laborer does a farming are pretty different. And when you talk about, as Professor Moni was talking about, from green to green, as you go to green with all technology, we have to also appreciate how the land people relation is critical. When we talk about bringing in technology, organic farming, etc. So I try to build that relationship in some slides in the beginning. Then we discuss about the Model Land Leasing Act that one of our protagonists, our advisor, philosopher and guide, Dr. Tajamul Haq, who was also as the member of Niti Aayog, chair of land policy Niti Aayog, brought in this act and tried to implement it. So we'll discuss about that. In between, we'll also discuss about the findings from the four states, what is happening in tenancy, and then close with recommendation. I'll be sharing some presentations, some publication in this study, which might be helpful to you looking at, if you want to know further and read further about that. In the context of now tenancy reform, I think it is important to understand land reform. I'm thankful to Professor Moni, who again talk about the 6 pillars of land reform. But if you look at why land reform was the first initiative that Government of India started taking post-independence. And it was part of something called socialist reform. It was part of the movement which talk about land to the tiller. So because till that time, a lot of intermediaries, be it Mughal period, be it colonial period, intermediaries used to contribute, used to control land, and farmers used to pay the tax, and intermediary collect the tax and give, either take to the jamindars, the emperors, or to the East India Company, and later to the British monarchy. So till I think almost 1850 or so, almost 50% of the revenue of the colonial government was from land record, from the land. So, and that was one of the reason it was attributed that particularly agriculture development had not started because land administration didn't look at supporting land relations more effectively, and that is how we started the policy of land reform in 1960. It was again quite well informed by the reforms that was taken earlier in East Asia, particularly Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and now it is told that these East Asian tigers, in terms of the economy, why their economy is stable, resilient, and moving fast forward, is that economy is based on strong land reform. So land reform money provided impetus to agriculture development, and agriculture development provided impetus to manufacturing sector and manufacturing to services. So the pyramid was well built on a strong foundation of agriculture economy. And we all saw when COVID came how our agriculture economy was the resilient economy, how the services sector and manufacturing sector was failing. So agriculture economy to be resilient, land reform is critical, and that was one of the objective why the post-independent India started looking at this, along with the argument Professor Moni tried to bring in the inverse relation, the small farms are more efficient. And as part of land reform, while we try to bring in many different kind of agendas, selling, redistribution, the land consolidation, one of the major agenda was tenancy. So tenancy reform. So tenants, if you now also look at land records of many states, still we are considered as tenants to Government of India. So tenancy is a relation with the land of the farmer. I'm talking about agriculture tenancy, not the tenancy of the housing or urban areas. So in agriculture tenancy, many farmers who don't own land and want to cultivate, because either they may be poor or they want to cultivate more land, so they take land on rent on different terms and conditions. It could be shared cropping, it could be fixed price, it could be mix of that, and they do start cultivating the land. So if you look at the farming hierarchy in India, I would say there are three kind of farmers are there. But Government of India recognizes the farmer based on land ownership. We'll discuss about that. But on the practice, there are three kind of farmers. One kind of farmer is a farmer who is landowner. Another kind of farmer is a tenant farmer who doesn't own the land fully or partially, but cultivating the land. We call them land holders sometimes. Now, as per agriculture census, we calculate operational land holders, not number of farmers. So a tenant could be a operational land holder having some or no piece of land of her own, but having some piece of land uh, leased in from somebody else. Third kind of is the agricultural laborer who doesn't own the land but cultivate. So this hierarchy decides actually the land relation, the investment in farming, the credit access, the MSP, the technology used, green revolution. So if you look at the way green revolution has succeeded or failed has to do with tenancy. The way organic farming is succeeding or failing has to do with the tenancy, because these three kind of farmers, they don't do the farming in the same way. And land reform tried to address that, make all of them farmer, but it failed. It couldn't do, address that. So there are different reasons. It's rich and powerful. So land relations are not purely on the record, not only agrarian. They are also a manifestation of power, culture, society, history. So which makes sometimes it difficult to. So most of the ministers who were opposing it were also big landlords post independence. So in spite of the state governments trying best, government of India trying best, even in fact the very first amendment to Indian constitution was to allow land reform, the first amendment to Indian constitution. Because somebody challenged land reform in the court of law, telling that our right to land will be taken over when the land selling is or land is given to tenants. So government of India brought in the amendment and then segregated the revenue codes. A lot of new things started, and also right to land as a constitutional right was later abolished. So right to land is no more a constitutional right. It is a it has been diluted a lot. But the way this land reform was implemented by different states were different. Like some state outrightly banned Kerala, Odisha, will discuss that, West Bengal. But some state trying to protect it, some state trying to allow it. But what we see in India, informality is, I think, a embedded reality. When COVID came, we all at that time learned that almost 60% of our economy and more than 80% labor work in informal sector. So even we try to formalize everything through law, through administration, but the country is so huge and the relations are so complex. Still economy, still agriculture runs informally. Similarly, even if tenancy was banned, tenancy was protected by law, tenancy continued, because tenancy is a manifestation of demand supply gap of land in agriculture. So when more and more farmer want to do tenancy, want to do agriculture, they may or may not own land. So they may have to rely on taking land on lease from a rich farmer who may or may not be in the village. Most of the rich people who own land now in the cities, we call something called absentee landlord. Even if you go to Uttarakhand, we call it feminization of farming, because all the male people, Nepal, Uttarakhand, hill states, they go out, migrate. So women, so the people who do the farming, they are not the owners. So they face the problems which we'll be discussing subsequently. So right now, almost 30% of farmers are tenants. If you look at India's farming figures, we don't have direct farming numbers. It is based on operational holders of agriculture census. About 14.8, about 15 crore people in India are farmers. But imagine out of that, 5 crores, more than 5 crores will be tenants. So 5 crore people have some operational difficulty in adopting green revolution, in moving to doubling farm income. Even other 8 crores. So whatever we bring in, any technology, any fintech product, any proptech product, anything we bring in, so they will be differently perceived by these two different groups. And as we have seen in the census, the number of cultivators are reducing and number of agricultural laborers are increasing. So the farming is not only decided by the land owning farmers, to whom all the direct benefit transfer, everything goes. It is decided by the agricultural laborers and the tenants. So unless we bring them into the fold, I think there are some big challenges outing us. Another thing is happening, even if there are farmers, if you see all the land are not being farmed. Fallow lands are increasing. We'll discuss the numbers more. People are lying land fallow not for ecological aspects like what is being done in Europe or to capture carbon. They are lying fallow for different reasons. And one of the major reasons is this tenant relations. So fallows are increasing. That means Instead of cultivating 100 hectares, we are cultivating only 80 hectares, 20 hectares is remaining fallow. And they're not being cultivated. So all the lands are not being cultivated because of tenancy relations. And there are also issues around like how access to investment. So tenant farmers are at a competitive disadvantage in adopting technology and loans. I will be discussing about that. So the whole idea is that the land reform, which was brought in with so much of focus and so much of impetus post independence, was a failure, and tenancy continuing. And that is how in 2016 it was argued that another round of land reform required to bring tenant into the economic fold. So this is the scenario now. I'll not go into the details, but you see how the land in India is a state subject. So most of the agriculture land issues, land record, land reform, land administration are the state subject. But Government of India has also something in the central list: land acquisition, registration, some kind of inheritance act over other land, not agricultural land. And then there are some in the concurrent list. I think registration is in the concurrent list. So land is in the three lists: state list, central list, and concurrent list. But most of them in the state list. So states really bring in a lot of act. So land reform, while Government of India tried to push it, it had to be implemented by the states, and different states perceive it differently, implemented differently. Like Kerala, Jammu Kashmir, and Manipur, they are complete ban. Bihar, Himachal, Karnataka, MP, Odisha, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, they do complete leasing ban, but provided some exceptions to widows. For example, in Odisha, on the land of Lord Jagannath, Tenancy Act is not applicable. So Jagannath can own the land, you can be a tenant. So it is legal. But Pranab Choudhury cannot own and Professor Moni cannot be a tenant. It is not allowed. But for widows, something is allowed. So there are different states bringing different kind of law. In Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Assam, there was no explicit ban on after a specified period, or 6 year or 12 year, tenant can acquire right to purchase land. So if you cultivate for some time in Andhra Pradesh also, after 12 years you can try to purchase the land at a subsidized rate. Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, no explicit ban, but there are some incentives and notifications and provisions. Rajasthan, West Bengal, there is no legal ban on land leasing, but progressive tenancy. I'll just go back. Odisha, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu. So if you look at even in terms of provisions, some states are in the both categories. So this is the complications. And as a result of which, what happened, if you look at, in spite of all this, so they tried to bring in explicit restriction, they tried to bring in lease term restriction, complete ban. But what is showing, overall in India, tenancy increased by 41% between 81 to 2012. It is as per NSSO data. And in some places where the complete ban, it increased by more than 200%. So that means that something is in law, something is in practice, and that is called informality, because it is very difficult to implement law on the ground, and many times demand supply challenge, gaps and other kind of things, take it over. And when you look at the growth of tenancy and also area under small farming, so it is a clear reflection of demand supply gap and more demand for farming. Even we talk about one kind of growth where we want that farmers leave their small patches of land because it is inefficient. They come to cities to make a good living. So we promote our rural urban migration. So it is sometimes it is promoted, sometimes it is stressed, because most of the time it is because of land relation, and land relation is argued around that. But what did we see during COVID? COVID, we saw even the cities from to which they had come are unable to hold them during the time of crisis. People went back to the villages because villages where their land is, villages where they could feel secure to be back. So this is something we have to see. So how, and this is something I think Japan, Korea, and Taiwan address very effectively. How we have to see that when farmers come to cities and work in farms, so now there is more cycling migrants. Some migrants, they don't want to leave land, they come to city, go back. So how we also bring in this urban rural, because we are talking about now urban kind of economy, how you manage it, because cities are also expanding pretty fast, there are issues and challenges. So there is a clear relationship between these two. It is not only small farms efficient or tenancy reform. It is also how we provide that, secure that land relations, so that this is the rural urban both the grow in a balanced way, and there is lesser risk involved for the tenants and small farmers who even want to lease out the land. And if you look at the tenants, you see they are mostly small and marginal farmers. So that means people who want to increase their farming, and stay in the rural area, they don't have adequate land. So they don't have land, sometimes landless. We'll see the data. Most people are landless. We call them pure tenants. That they don't own any land, but they take land to cultivate. So for them, accessing technology is pretty different. For a pure tenant, for a mixed tenant who owns some piece 1 acre land, they lease in 3 acre. No, farming is different. Who is a pure landowner, farming is different. Who is a pure landowner and leased out all his land, absentee landlord, tenants, this farming is different. But these are different kind of farmer who is decided. So we see that percent of tenants who are small and marginal farmers are very high, and you see percent of tenants that own no land, that is also there. I think the 12-13 data has some issues, but roughly around 25% of the farmers, who do tenancy, they don't own any land. And if you look at among Dalits and women, see, another thing also I wanted to highlight, I just forgot in the beginning. Yesterday we celebrated International Women's Day. And in India, more and more women are coming to farm. So we'll discuss about the numbers. So this is because of many reasons. Men migration, in some state it is a cultural practice in hill states that women do more farming. But the women do farming. In Kerala also, women do a lot of farming, but they don't have any rights. So they are not recognized as farmers. Professor M.S. Swaminathan, when he had the Farmer Commission, he recommended that women farmer must be recognized as farmer. And Government of India also tried that, so they are observing Women Farmers Day also. But till yet, they are not being recognized as farmer legally, because a farmer in Indian law right now, though it is not especially mentioned, but when any scheme is decided, is asked to identify a farmer, they are identified based on their name in land record. So if your name is in land record, then you are a farmer, irrespective of the fact that you are in the cities, last 30 years you have not visited a farm, but still you are a farmer because you own agricultural land. But you are a farmer, for 30 years you are farming, but you don't own agricultural land, then you are not a farmer. So this is the irony, and that is also leading to how the PM Kisan money, direct benefit transfer, other things are also getting challenged. And if you look at in terms of tenancy exclusion, Dalits, farmers, Muslims are most sidelined. 65% of women in India and 65% of agriculture workers, be it farmers, agriculture laborers, are women. But if you look at land record data, is not easily available. It is as per agriculture census data. This is another issue. When talk about data is also not clearly available. In spite of digitization of land record, we don't know how many farmers we have. We always rely on agriculture census data, which is talk about operational holder. Operational holder is a person who is cultivating it. So he may or may not be the owner. He or she may not be owner. So only 13.9% of the land holders are women. And they own, I think, around 12% of land holding. So they women don't get all the rights of the farmers because their name is not in the land record. And even after digitization of land record, it was decided that there will be gender column. So there is no gender column in land record. In land record, you have caste, you have father's name, you have village, everything is there, but gender is not there. So it is very difficult to segregate land, how many land women own. So now we can use different kind of digital signatures, but still Government of India has not been able to do that. So we don't know actually how many women own land in India. I wrote a piece, I can share if who is interested. So different census. So agriculture census said 12%. National Family Health Census say 45%. India Human Development Survey say 3%. Socioeconomic. So if you look at all sources of data, they all do their metadata. They look at differently and they different numbers. Even if on their own land also, families don't want their name to be recorded. So for that, Maharashtra started some kind of socialist movement They call it, Ghar Doganche, Lakshmi, Mukti, Abhijan. They brought, so many states have tried to do that. Odisha brought in single women kind of system. So, but it is still not working, and women remain not recognized as farmers. And there are a lot of activists trying to work around that. So gender equity is not there in the farming because only reason women name is not in the land record. That is a major reason. Similarly, Dalits. Most of the Dalits they do farming, but they also tenancy level is very high. So there was a study based on socioeconomic caste census data, which talk about if a 1% rise in Dalit population in a village, then it leads to 0.2% increase in Gini coefficient. That means if there are more Dalit in a village, land is more inequitably distributed, and more Dalits are landless, more so even access tenancy also we found Dalits are not able to access tenant land. Even when they are given land in Bihar, they are not able to occupy those land. So police has to be sent, but still. So there are issues around. So farming will happen when farmer does the farming. But when farmers get sidelined due to different legal issues and no social relations, there are challenges around that. So this is something I was talking about. If you see the fallow land, percentage of land lying fallow as per this is a reported area. Reported area is total geographical area. We found that 8.5%, almost 20 million hectares of land is more than 25 million hectares of land is lying fallow. And it is as per the net area is increasing. So fallow land is increasing every if you look at this statistics data, and it is increasing in every 10 years. And there are studies which indicate that this increase is because of tenancy relations. If tenants, where tenants are there, if you look at this slide by Raghunathan Pandey, so they say that where there are more tenants, there are less fallow. That means if tenants are there, people would be leasing that land. If tenants are not there, or people don't want to lease that land, less tenant. So either way, following is more because less tenants are there. If there are more tenants, follow. So that means more land will go to production. So we are talking about increasing production. So India can increase more out of this 25 million hectares if tenancy can be addressed. 25 million. These are not wastelands. These are the cultivable lands which go for fallow for 1 to 5 years because of not productivity barriers, because of land relation barriers. So what happens? So I've been telling that, but you clearly put into perspective, like this 30% of tenant farmer, what actually happening? What is that? So if you look at the now government of India has started as part of this informatics, e-governance, all the money that will be transferred or subsidies will be given either by government of India or the state to agriculture sector will be through direct benefit transfer. So every state has a portal where you have to register as a farmer and then you get the benefit. So when you register, the first question is asked apart from your name and Aadhaar identity is your land record. So if the land record is not your name, if it is grandfather's name, you have to subdivide it, give a power of attorney, something. But if you're a tenant farmer, if the landlord is not giving in writing, you cannot do that. Some states insist that, some states state that no, if Sarpanch can give it is okay, some states will no, you cannot register. So most of the direct benefit transfer, I'll discuss in more detail about PM Kisan, Raitu Bandhu and Kaliya. So that money, even tractor money, so most of the benefits, fertilizer subsidy are not going directly to the farmer, tenant farmer. So 30%, 5 crores farmers are missing this opportunity, and they are competitively at disadvantages to compete with these farmers. So as a tenant farmer, your cost of accessing credit, cost of accessing technology, cost of accessing insurance, cost of accessing market is higher. So you cannot double your income unless it is facilitated. While out of others, some are absentee landlord. I know when in our survey we found out many people they get Kisan credit card loan, PM Kisan. They are not sitting in the village; they are in the cities. Still, they get the direct benefit transfer because their account is in the village bank and they are linked to land record. Now we're talking about 10,000 FPOs, farmer producer organizations, which will be improving farm relations. But if you don't have a land record, you cannot register a FPO. For a registration of FPO, the office bearers has to have land record. So that is how many women FPOs are in the name of men office bearers, and many tenants they cannot register. So when you go for any collateralization, when you go for registered mortgage for a higher term loan, you require no land record. It is not there. Even public grant procurement, PDS, MSP. So many states, as a tenant, you cannot sell no your grain at MSP if you don't have land record. So as a result of which, we find that because very poor number of very low number of tenants is recorded, so only 13% as per 2019 figure is recorded. So we find that there are lots of gaps between the technology financial support and what is reaching to the farmers, and it is more for women and Dalits. So if you look at the exclusions, we try to analyze PM Kisan, Raitu Bandhu, Raitu Bharasa, Kaliya. These are some DBT schemes. And we find in most cases, tenants are completely excluded. Like Raitu Bandhu is explicitly we will not give loan to tenants. We will not give this DBT to tenants. But Kaliya tried it in Odisha, but they faced lots of problem in spite of putting all their digital. So we have done a case study around that. They try to look at multiple databases, do surveys, but still they faced a lot of struggle and a lot of problem. And finally, they decided to launch another scheme called Balram, where tenant farmers were to be addressed to joint liability group. Again, there are also difficulties there. But how to identify? Because there is no clue. There is no clear-cut evidence to identify, clear-cut methodology to identify tenants at a top-bottom approach. Bottom-up can be, but bottom-up instruments has not been strengthened. So that is what Model Land Leasing Act told, but we have not strengthened those. So democratization and digitization has not been gone together. Decision happened without democratization. So when democratization can go together, probably we can address the issues. But the essence is that in these schemes, tenant farmers are conspicuously missing out. So what has happened over these years, if you see, I think Professor Moni talking about yield change. So though there are some yield change by the owner cultivated versus tenant cultivated, but if you look at overall data sets, there are again also studies which indicate reverse. And if you put all the data research together, so there has been the difference has not been statistically very significant. But there has been particularly rise in proportion of fallow lands. There has been reduced agriculture investment due to informal tenure arrangement. Tenants' access to mainstream agriculture development have been drastically reducing. Agriculture productivity is increasing. On a long term, there are some issues because fallow lands are not being cultivated. Farmers are not able to access technology and agriculture, technology and finance. And also, we try to look at the farmer suicide data in many states, and we found a strong correlation. The farmers were committing suicide, most of them are tenants. And at the same time, we say tenancy is increasing in India. In spite of all the measures by states, tenancy. So this is the scenario where tenancy is increasing and tenants are getting excluded in the mainstream agriculture development process. So to address this, Government of India brought in a Model Land Leasing Act. So it was architect by the main architect was Dr. Tajamul Haq, who was agriculture economist and worked in this field for level. And he tried to, because one of the argument behind removing tenancy, so like the very succinctly it has been put by someone in an document that
Dr. Pranab,
yes sir,
that the 1.3 slide, can you put it once again? 1.3 slide.
1.3.
1.3. Okay. Just one.
This 1.4% of tenants that own no land or the own, it was a kind of NSSO metadata problem. But I couldn't show another slide which, as per our 4-state study, So we see most of the tenants, more than 30% of the tenants are landless people.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes. Okay, carry on. Please carry on.
So Nitya very succinctly put it that when you brought in land reform in 60s, the imperative was a socialist reform. Socialist reform means redistribute land to the poor and bring in a equitable, one was agriculture productivity, another was bring in social equity. But it didn't work. But now tenancy reform is an economic imperative. So it is no more a socialist agenda. It is an economic imperative. Why? Because if you want to address fallow land, put them under cultivation. If you want to make these farmers compete with other farmers with same efficiency and increase production productivity and bring in agriculture surplus, now also we're talking about nature-based solution, carbon farming. If you want to really see them, addressing their tenure security is important. To do that, he told that earlier it was one versus another. Land owner will lose, tenant will gain. Because landowner, Jamidar will be abolished, ceiling will be distributed, redistributed, ceiling will apply, more than 20 acres land will be redistributed on poor, or if it is a tenant, land will go to him. So in three of the cases, there the landowners who are politically powerful, they are losing. So now he argued that can you make both of them win? So bring in a tenant, like as a tenant, you are staying in cities. You are easy to get a house. You go to any website, you get house on rent. That is 11-month agreement, fine. But you get house, you can move out, move in. So getting a tenancy, a house on rent as a housing tenant is easy. But why should be as a land tenant? And in housing tenant, there are very few cases where landowners are afraid of giving it. So can be the land and housing owners are afraid of it. Can the landowner be put same? So his act was talking about that can you make both of them winner? So can you find out some ways and mechanism where the rights and interest of tenants and landlord both be protected at the same time we can address the problem of tenancy, access to entitlement, access to fallow lands. So that was proposed by this model land, agricultural land leasing act. So the provisions were that removal of implicit tenancy restriction and repeal tenants' right to automatically acquire the ownership. So tenants will not get the ownership of land. They can keep on cultivating under tenancy arrangement, and once they don't want to do tenancy, the land will go back to the landowner. But till the time they are there, they will be able to get the benefits, and the benefits can be decided mutually or through a act. Lease terms including duration, rent, all these things will be as per mutual agreement. States can bring in a lease, like some states talk about 15 years, some talk about 30 years, but other things can be decided by them within that. So once automatic resumption and land post lease due to violation of lease term, if there is lease term is completed or violated, automatically land will go back to the landowner. In the meanwhile, tenants can access Kisan credit card, PM Kisan, DBT, insurance, MSP based on the attested written lease agreement. So instead of a land record, they can, with some other document, they can access it. Or some states wanted that it may be reflected in land record. So there could be some kind of documental evidence which can be used and accepted by the state to provide rights to the tenants. While the Model Act was talking about no recording of lease agreement in the record of rights, I think UP in its amendment and Uttarakhand also, they are recording in the rights. Like it was earlier also recorded, like in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, we had a land record which was called records of tenancy and cropping. So there in RTC, every year the record was updated based on who is the person cultivating, who is the person owning, and what is the crop. So there were different registers were maintained. Even I will see that Digital India Land Records Modernization Program also has provision in some states. They are not updating regularly, but that is that can be done either in ROR or in other forms. It can be done, and also incentivizes tenant to make land improvement. So there is an argument that if I don't own the land, if there is no tenure security that the landlord can throw me at any point of time. So I'll not invest. So we were interviewing some farmers in organic farming or adaptive organic farming. So tenants will say, why should I go for organic farming in my landowner's land? Because my labor in organic farming there is more labor input. I have to put in more, kind of FIM, far-bad manure, more organic practices. So more women will be involved. So a lot of labor and a lot of inputs are coming in. But the benefits are going to the landowner because money is getting directly transferred to the landowner, all subsidies. And you are expecting the tenant to do it, so will not do it. So tenants has a perverse incentive to invest in land if no land is to be improved. So that was addressed by the Land Leasing Act. So it was, in the 6 states, 5 states are actually Andhra Pradesh adopted it much earlier. In 2011, they brought in a new act, Land License Cultivator Act, and then in 2019 they changed it to Land, I think, Crop Cultivators Act. Land leasing, the Model Act came in 2016, and after that Madhya Pradesh brought in 2017. Maharashtra enacted, but I think it is still not passed. It is still awaiting president's consent. Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, they brought in this also act. So these are the states where now these practices are there. But Punjab, Odisha, Canada also tried, but still they have not, enacted it. Niti Aayog has a land policy cell to push it, but I think that policy cell has been closed, and Dr. Huck, unfortunately, went to his heavenly abode during COVID. So post that, we don't find any champion promoting that. And I think when he was there with Ashok Dalwai committee, there are a lot of meetings, and even in the recommendation of Ashok Dalwai committee also, it was clearly mentioned that if you doubling farm income has to be supported, so land leasing model has to be enacted. So these are the key provisions if you look at these states. So lease durations are different time. So like UP allowed up to 30 years for solar farming. So now we are talking about renewable energy. Even converting agricultural land to solar farms also UP allow that. But for horticulture it is 15 years. Maharashtra mutually decided. Andhra Pradesh up to 5 years. In AP it is 11 months. So though it decided, but this is recommended by the state, but they will be deciding, agreement will be between lessee and lessor, the different provision. So that has to be maintained in some kind of database. In UP and Uttarakhand, I think it has to be maintained in ROR. So, but this transfer, subleasing is not allowed, but in some cases co-leasing is allowed. So these terms and conditions can evolve locally and among the states. And most of them are also talked about.
Prabji, can you go to the slide 2.1? Can you spend some more time on that? What is really happening in other states?
Other states have not enacted anything. So they are continuing this land reform laws of 60s. So the first slide I showed, if I can just go back to the first slide. So this thing remain. Only these 5 states have changed. In other states, this old status quo remains. It has not changed. So land leasing, like in Odisha, it is still bad. But in Odisha government, no, if you look at some orders, some government orders, they are allowing MSP. So a tenant can sold at MSP, minimum support price, if Sarpanch gives in writing.
Just 2.1, please go back to 2.1. Okay. Now, so suppose if now we have initiated state, smart tribal farming projects, and in states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala. Can we address this issue in this project? Because Doubling Farmers Income Committee report also talks about it, and you are also there in some of the. I will include you in almost all the state. There's tribal projects. Because I'm feeling that lot of technology adoption, so many other things that the last statement which you made it that tenant farmers 30%. No, it is a huge number, and if they are not part of the these modernizations and land strengthening and so on and so forth, how are we going to achieve? It is a big issue. I after listening to you, I am becoming restless that I should conduct this program specific for every state, with you as the main speaker and one as a guest speaker from every state. Is it not a good idea, Dr. Pranab Choudhury?
Yes, sir. This is very important because see,
No,
I also
I
study.
also felt, I didn't know that Dr. Hug, he's a good friend of mine. He's no more. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he passed away in
Passed
2020.
away. And I think let us start whatever he has left. Let us start, from this forum. And with the Center for Land Governance, your NGO, and my Center for Agriculture, Informatics, and E-Government Research Studies, let us try to propagate, that has to how to achieve this modernization and and technology development as talked by the Doubling Farmers Income Committee report, in this area. This is my viewpoint. I'm just putting my viewpoint. Please carry on, and let us see that how we can achieve it.
Definitely, sir. Actually, now towards the recommendation conclusion, I will be adding some solutions. So there are solutions indeed, but this problem will need to be looked at and really addressed because I also saw my transition from a natural resource management and agriculture scientist to a more institutional person because I realize whatever technology I'm transferring or trying to develop, if I'm not addressing the land tenure issues, the institutional issues, sometimes the technology is actually making gainers and losers. So technology actually, making the divide. Watershed, we had these studies. Like the divide is high. Watershed investment you bring in, land owning people they get more benefits, and landless and tenants they get sidelined. So sometimes overall watershed economy definitely grows. Overall water recharge more. So everything in terms of biophysical things improves, but socioeconomic things challenges coming. So we have to really do the balancing. So I'm happy to help you in doing that. So a lot of
No,
insights
that's
and
the title which you given is more important. We'll have the title biophysical improvement and socio-economic benefits.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
This is, it will touch the heart of everybody, policymakers and so on and so forth. Because, in rain-fed area, we have to achieve lot.
exactly, exactly.
And that's why in the doubling farmers income in my report, where which Dr. Ashok Dalwai has recommended in his final report, smart irrigated farming, smart rain-fed farming, and smart tribal farming. And this aspect has to be seen its respective characteristic. I think biophysical characteristic and socio-economic benefits, and this is how we should look into the land development, for agriculture, land development for agriculture. It's a it's very important keywords you given to me, and it will derive the issues to the last mile. Thank you. Please carry on that.
Thank you, sir. So, if you go to the state wise, we see that no states have brought in that, but again, what happens? No, some states have really not addressed the earlier legacies. For example, there are legacies like adverse possession. There are legacies like no old tenancy acts. So, when you look at legally, we have to really see it is not only without bringing new acts, but how we put new act vis-a-vis older acts. And so the legal part has to be very coherently addressed. And fortunately, there are experts, there are people who are now working around that, and they can address that. So this is one thing we have to know. We have to introduce good law in the states, convince the state that it is in their benefit for biophysical improvements and socio-economic benefits. They should bring in this act. I think even with some of the people also tried to write some op-eds and papers to see that how it can be taken up. So I'll share that. So in terms of recommendations, so one is that we have to see that this long-term leases, if not short-term, because see there are two kind of agriculture loans we access. When you go for a technology transition, we need finance. In agriculture, finance is a challenge. So one finance comes for something called crop loan, which is really a seasonal loan, one yearly loan, easily available. Even many states they allow also crop loan with tenant, but most states they don't allow. But this is something which can be addressed through a kind of small certificate. But for long term loans, to create charge, so now charge making by banks are very important. Like I yesterday was discussing to a IDBI bank, so he has given loan to someone to do a poultry farm, 3 crores loan. So for 3 crores loan, they need on the 12-acre land being mortgaged, a charge should be built in. So if the 12-acre land is not by the person but somebody has leased in, see, the irony is that if you lease in a government land on a 99-year lease or 30-year lease for a foreign direct investment or any other investment, the next day you sign the MOU with the state, you can place that land with the bank and get loan for putting up a industry. It could be iron, aluminium, or anything. So those lands on lease from government can be really mortgaged to get loan. But as a farmer, if I leasing in land, I cannot. Right now in most states, why can't I? Why can't it be recorded in some form and no? So finance can be given. So for that, can we bring in some kind of arrangement where this? And another thing we was talking about, like if he's giving loan on to 12 acres, how does he know that it is 12 acres? It is in record, but is it in physically? So here comes in the updating of land records. So most of the land records have been digitized but not updated, and the maps have not been georeferenced. So can we tag the georeferencing, digitization, and tenancy together to make it a kind of land information system, which makes fintech, proptech farms to work better? So here digitization can also help in doing the link all these things. So many
You
agriculture.
say, you said very nicely, land information system. I put up a note in 1990 in NIC when land records computerization was initiated in 1985, 86, 87 by some pilot projects.
Yeah, in NIRB.
And I when I was the project director for district information system program in 512 districts in 1987 onwards. So I gave a note to, and with some study done in Haryana, I put up a note to my Director General that yes, land records computerization is fine, because at that time I would like to give a reference to you for your own validation. In the ninth Finance Commission, Dr. K.C. Pant was the chairman. He asked me to prepare a note in NIC, and then DG NIC asked me to prepare a note that the computerization, the benefit of land records computerization. So I generate a note that if a land records computerization is 1:1, but land is a tradable commodity and is being used by many departments. They care their own land records data, like
Railways, defense.
PWD and irrigation department and agriculture and forest department and so on and so forth. So we should go for a land information system, and that has to be operationalized. The notice 1991. My DG didn't agree to that. That if that would have been, because NIC should be supposed to do something which is that what is supposed India should have 20 years later, we are supposed to visualize and do that.
Sir, it is
So
happening now. It is
no,
happening to
and
some
even now
extent.
it is not happening.
No, to some extent, I was part of a national conference recently. The
No, it is. I
geospatial
just,
policy.
and that time I put up a note to Dr. K.C. Pant's the Finance Commission, that if you go for a land information system, the return on investment will be 1:10. Many departments will use it at the grassroots level. Even now, that's why in doubling farmers' income committee report, 2 times I said it. We don't have a comprehensive agricultural resources information system to work on, to establish a comprehensive decision support system to advise the farmers what to grow, where to grow, why to grow, and how to grow, where not to grow, why not to grow, how not to grow. So so technologies may not be available today. A lot of technologies available, drone technology and so on and so forth. But concepts should have been inbuilt in when you are trying to do from bottom up process. And And now, I have been seeing it, and it's if we would have initiated projects at that time itself, it would have been very nice. But in the, the thing is that it is there is no team spirit in this country. And at the grassroots level, the coordination, cooperation, team spirit is more important. And that's why in this doubling farmers income put it, synergization of all the schemes, whether it is central government or state government, has to synergize at a farm level or village level, come what may. And this what today's our talk will force that issue, and we will see to that how this can be achieved. Let us do that through pilot project. Carry on. Thank you very much for raising such points.
So to some extent, they have started. Now, I was part of a conference DST was organizing last month in Delhi of launching the National Geospatial Policy. I was in a panel of the Department of Land Resources. So there are a lot of conversation happening among department, Panchayat Raj, Rural Development, DOLR, and others, even
But
urban.
I have, when I was in service, that National Natural Resource Management System of Department of Space and National, natural resource data management, NRDMS of DST and geospatial policy and so on and so forth. And we have not promoted GIS technology at the grassroots level. And even when I was in a committee meeting in Department of Space, I think at that time, Chairman Mr. Madhavan Nair was there. And I recommended that, all the geography colleges, Department of Geography, should be adopted by the Department of Space to promote GIS technology in land resources with the space applications and so on and so forth. And it didn't happen. And even now, we don't give any importance for the geography discipline at the grassroots level. And unless the students who study geography at the school level, we have so all +2 schools and have a strong geography department. And land information system with the GIS technology, with the drone technology now, which is achievable. That's why in the recommendation I also put it, digitalized land and water management system. It has to be together, it cannot be different. So synergization has to take place in the village level, rather than seeing from vertical silos from central government and state capital. And even the district capital, they don't want to see village, as they also see vertical. So
No,
and
this
at
is
least
something
block
that
and below.
other countries have tried to address it. See, sir, actually, it is theoretically possible, and they are doing it. But they're integrating different layer, but the layer is missing. Layer is tenure, who own the land. So some state countries are doing something called MPC, multi-purpose cadastre. So how, because land use data, other data can be derivative data. You can use satellite imageries. You can use existing maps to connect it. But once you connect that and update with the land ownership, I think many development, be it urban development, be it rural development, be it, so that is the major challenge, because we have other GIS layers but no tenure layer. So I'm not talking only tenancy; it is also land ownership. So when these layers are, and I think Government of India is trying to think about that. So there is a global, I can connect you to that initiative called RICS, Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. It is UK-based agency. So they are talking about something called ILMS. It is a kind of integrated land measurement system. So where they're trying to bring in all dimensions of land, tenure, valuation, use, attributes. So they are telling that no, there are some, I think 8 factors, and out of 8 there are sub factors. So if you put that, what exactly you're talking about, this LIS, land information system. So then this will be very useful for any department. Any
No, it
department
has to be, that anything, we don't have a comprehensive village level information system. We don't have a comprehensive natural resource information system. And if this is there, that LIS will bring all those things with the today technology available. 20, 30
exactly,
years back, we talked about land information system without any technology in hand. Today, you have a
exactly.
sophisticated technology, but you are poor in understanding in information system. That is not happening. So I think it is a right time that, Pranabji, that, with your Center for Land Governance and the Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance, we should join together to bring in that, how to bring in a comprehensive land information system very effectively, which including land tenants as a part. We will get the data. We will try to see that with the pilot project and see that importance of multi-layer information system for benefits for, to see that at the first mile at the grassroots level. It's very important. Please carry on.
Sure. I'll just, I think, a couple of here. So, if you look at even the Digital India Land Record Modernize program, so there are also some kind of coding available, some kind of the directions available, and some states are already supposed to record it. So there is a space also for digitization within the framework of DLRNP. And again, I am going for another seminar DLRNP organized on 17th March. So they have asked me to speak on some democratization of this land records. So there I am trying to put this information clearly. How now DOLR should initiate a process to see how these 30% tenants are onboarded in the platform, because it could be a soft thing, hard thing, legal, institutional, the geo, anything, but we have to find out something. Otherwise, if we don't onboard them in digital platform, increasingly all benefits to farmer that farmer is getting, and all benefits farmer getting by selling the crop is linked to land tenure. For example, now traceability. When you sell a organic farm crop or a geographical indicator crop, traceability is important. So unless your farm polygon is linked, and unless it is linked to the person cultivating it, so the benefit is going into somebody else, and people cannot check it. So I think
This, it is a very important thing which you raised it, and it is, we are trying to double, triple, 10 times productivity, and investment has to go to other land, and traceability integrate with the global value chain, and 30% of the tenants who are all doing farming activities, and if they are not facilitated, they are all small and marginal farmers, they also should be part of the value chain, and it is a big injustice, and if we leave them, and another one is PM Kisan. Now if it is supposed to go for the Kisan, not Kisan means what he undertake farm operations, not the landowner.
very true, sir.
See, Kisan is a man who does activities. Otherwise, we call it as a Prime Minister's landowner's benefit. And if this PM Kisan, it's well intended, and it is well intended, there is nobody doubt about it. But the thing is that those who do farming activity, they should get benefit out of it.
Exactly.
I think it demands pilot projects based on who does, and traceability will bring it out. And if you are not, the 400 agriculture commodities, if they are not globally integrated, we lose everything.
Exactly.
We lose everything, and that is the dangerous. We are having it now. Yeah, it's a good point which you made it, and digitalization should bring it out. Whether the revenue department wants to record or not, we should force them to record it. We should bring it to the common public that these are all the people they are doing farming, and not somebody else, and they should get the benefit. We should bring evidences from the grassroots level. Today, technology can facilitate, and we will make that evidences, prove that the man who does farming gets all the benefit of the government benefits. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I think technology with crowdsourcing kind of thing can be done. So just now provide two kind of recommendations broadly based on our studies. One recommendation is that mainstream it, legalize, digitize, democratize. So try to do that. That is one, which is a long-term action. It may take some time to pursue with the states, take it forward. So now with World Bank, with some states, with Niti Aayog, we are trying to work around that. That is one pathway. which is a institutional formal pathway. But we also realize there is an informal pathway, because the way microfinance systems are working to provide last mile finance, the way many digital startups in agriculture trying to provide a informal market way of reaching out to people. So there could be also something around that which doesn't always require a immediately legal institutional backing, that can be done. And we did some case studies and some evidence to look at both the options. So I'll just share with you. So this is about 7 case studies. It was mostly about enhancing land right to women and tenants. In some states, it is a small, I'll say World Bank has published it. So it includes Kerala's Kudumbasri, experience of IKP Bhumi program in Andhra Pradesh. So it was government initiative, the initiative government and NGO, pure NGO initiative, this initiative around legal aid, the initiative around group farming, this initiative around digitization of land record, the initiatives around access to finance. So these are something I think we can very well replicate in your tribal smart villages, where and World Bank has accepted it, and they have also now based on that developed this discussion papers, and which is being circulated among the bank staff and all the government they're working with, that how you can use this kind of learnings to scale it up. So particularly suppose in tribal area in Odisha also we have done women groups. Some women group they don't have access to land. So one pathway is that add their name to land record. We'll do that. It will take time. But in the meanwhile, if they can form a group like SSG and we negotiate with some landowner, provide them some land, talk to the market. So there are areas where their land access have been enhanced. Kudumbasri program in Kerala has really pioneered that. So these are some kind of low hanging fruits, short effective pathways through which community, government, NGOs, digital actors can collaborate and bring in some immediate short term solutions while we try to bring in long term things. So this particularly, this particular paper we just published in land use policy is telling something which is very important. It is telling informal land leasing in India will continue, and it is persisting because it is credible. It is not legal, but it is credible. It is credible in the eyes of local actors. So if you can add those credibility to some market and technology actors and tell that, like, microfinance is a financial solution and it is an informal financial solution. It has scaled up. Now Yunus brought in and now it is scaling up. Similarly, we are looking at many decentralized digital public goods. So can we bring in, while we change the policy laws and bring in LIS, also the small things which can be linked to the credibility and and built into the local market. Now crowdsourcing. So we know that even if we go for a purchasing in Amazon, Flipkart, or go in Make My Trip, we always look at star rating. Star rating is something by the people. It is not by the government. So can we have some kind of these things around tenancy, some local credibility, some local peer review score, which provide them a kind of eligibility to access government finance or private finance, insurance. So this is something I think we have to find out. So these two simple solutions, I'm reiterating and I'm closing. That one is a informal, low-hanging, collaborative pathway where immediate solutions can be addressed to for the women, Dalits, and tenants. And another is a long-term, legitimate technical pathway, digital pathway, where we bring the long-term and durable solutions. I think with this I will end. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much that you have touched. Just 1 minute, and let me also come out from the. You can come out of the presentation mode.
Yeah, I'll see how to close it.
Okay, good. And just 1 minute. No, it is, it is a very thought-provoking and very research-oriented presentation. Pranabji, you can look at me. That just hello, and it is a thought-provoking and a research-oriented presentation, because I was also involved in land records computerization, maybe that 35 years back in 87 onwards in the Disney program and the development which is taking place. And I have also been monitoring the developments which are taking place, you know, in every aspect, that even especially during these after 2000 onwards, when I have initiated IT in agriculture, because agricultural land is totally linked, and many programs I to blueprint I came out with agriculture even before the e-governance policy was announced. Many IT in agriculture projects were operational in India. But now, with after my retirement, that when after also associated with the doubling farmers income, I was able to bring from 87 onwards what we visualized, what was not done, and it should be done now. If it is a doubling farmers income, and today your title is not doubling farmer income, it is doubling farm income. What will you do with the farm? What will you do with the land? It is more
Exactly.
important. Farmer can get income from land and non-land. He can get from on land and non-land and off land. So but this is very important, and I felt so happy to listen to you, and also the way in which you prepared as a, as per and your profile dictated that this is how the talk is going to be there. And it is very important. I don't know that if you would like to bring India is an anatasa, whether for it was supposed to provide food to the whole world, whether it is from the landowner or is from the person who is doing agriculture on the farm, who should be recognized. And whether the people working in government buildings should be recognized, or the people who are supposed to get the customers, because we need the organic food, we need pesticides free food, we need a food which is agriculture commodities which is traceable, and which land which is grown, and what soil condition. And even that's why in my initial one I read all the titles of the webinar programs, to give the benefit that what type of problem we want to solve. And one topic was that use of artificial intelligence and data analytics to ensure optimal nutrition in soil and harvested food to minimize human disease. It's a like you said, it multi cadastral aspects and land information system. It is a common man's approach. What is, and you also talk about when you rent a house, we go and register that tenant applications agreement, and then you use the house, and we also try to do all decorations, home decorations by the tenant in the house. But why it is not happening in the land? And today it is a traceability. And the 7 mission mode programs, when the digital technology in agriculture, it has to be on, not on land owner, it is on land which produce which undertakes farming activities. So if technology adoption has to be there, it has to be on land, doesn't matter who is doing it, and recognize the people who are doing operations on that land. And the figure which you have quoted, NSSO figure, is 30% of the people who undertake farming operations are tenants. And food security is in their hand. Is the small farmers, small and marginal farmers, or they provide the security net, food security net. And this is a very important talk which Dr. Pranab, you made it today with your vast experience. And that's why when I put it agricultural informatics and e-governance research studies, I told now many of the engineering colleges are establishing, and this Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Government Research Studies by all the engineering discipline people to get into agriculture. So I'm going to inaugurate such centers in Tamil Nadu to start with. And I've also, even I had a talk with the director IIT Chennai, as an former student of IIT Chennai. I did my MTech Computer Science from IIT Chennai 76, 78 batch. I told this is what I can contribute. I mean, the one as a former student of IIT, as the man we emerged as a man to bring it agricultural informatics in the country. And this one, this let IIT Chennai work on it. And even Central University Tamil Nadu would like to work on this area, and many engineering colleges. I think 4,500 engineering colleges in the country who teach computer science, who teach digital technology, who undertakes geography discipline, image processing, and they have to. And India is an agrarian economy. They have to do research in agricultural they have to bring out innovative solutions for agriculture rather than producing people for Western corporates. And this is the mission in which I'm trying to advocate, and I'm very happy, and I will be successful. And getting 2.25 lakh agri-tech startup, one per each gram panchayat, will solve this problem. Whether the government wants to introduce the tenant's name in the land records or not, through the agri-tech startups, we'll force the issue.
Exactly.
From the external aggression, we'll make the revenue department to understand. See, it is land encroachment. You legitimize it, but the tenant who is working on the land, you are not legitimizing it. No, isn't it? No. Land encroachment, government land encroachment, and you legitimize it. You give patta to everybody, record of rights to everybody. Under the land reforms, a man who works in the land and he produces output and he is not encroaching it, but you are not legitimizing it. And I strongly feel that is how we have to argue for that, how to have the Model Act to be operationalized, how to recognize the land tenants in the land who do operations, and how is a win-win situation. And that is very important. And today, many all your presentation material, and it can generate lot of research activities, even lot of so-called technical agri-tech startups. And now you gave one important point, and I am telling about 2.25 lakh agri-tech startups are necessary. Even I made a presentation to Honorable Defense Minister and Honorable Agriculture Minister during the farmers' strike over farm laws. I told them this with the Dr. Ashok Dalwai Committee Report 7 recommendation on digital technology in agriculture, with your 3 farm laws, we can bring in 2.25 lakh agri-tech startups to help our 14.5 crores operational holders. Today they have only one Krishi Vigyan Kendras in every district, but we have to help them. 90% are small and marginal farmers. They need technology. They need productivity. They need 24, what they produce has to be integrated with the global value chain. So this is what is very important. And when you said it, that we are going to have 10,000 farmer produce organization, and what will happen in the 30% of the land operational holding, where 30% of the people are tenants, what will they do? So the government benefits with respect to farmer produce organization cannot happen there. We have to talk about that. Hello? We have to talk about that. And
Yes, sir.
And it's very important that, and another point which you touched is that biophysical characteristic and socio-economic benefits. This is where we have to bring it out, technology adoption at the piece of land. It's very important.
Technology and tenure should go together.
Hello.
Technology and tenure can go together.
And another one, today you have given a lot of that statements. Informality is embedded as a reality. That is correct statement which you made it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Informality is a reality. It is informality. It is informality as a reality,
Sir.
and government should understand this. And fellow lands are increasing. Fallow lands are increasing,
Sir,
and it is very dangerous.
I'll share a paper that we have written on this in EPW, this
Ah,
post-COVID, around informality. And, sir, are you closing it now? It is
yeah,
already
yeah.
on.
Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute, and I will talk to you, madam, later. And it is very important that today's topic, and I thank you, Dr. Pranab Choudhury ji, and you taken time from your busy schedule and had a very valuable talk. And is a time now. It is very important that
Sir, we are not able to hear you. Sir, we are not able to hear you. I think you are muted.
And I thank you very much for your very valuable talk today. And I would like to request you that, in view of the importance, both the Center for Agricultural Informatics and E-Governance Research Studies and Center for Land Governance, let us work together.
Sure.
Let us try to achieve land information system, and let us try to incorporate the tenants and those who are working on the field, those who are doing agriculture operations. We'll give a new definition for PM Kisan. And it is a smarter tribal farming project which we have initiated. And I would like, let us work on it. Let us have an institutional cooperation and collaboration through a memorandum of understanding. And we will also, bring in capacity building for the, students, for the people, the rural youths, and land information systems, and so on and so forth. And let us try to bring in technology adoption for agricultural development at the grassroots level. So integrated land and water management is very important. And digitalized agricultural resources management system is very important. And smart irrigated farming, smart rainfed farming, and smart tribal farming is very important. So with this, we can generate, enormous employment opportunities for the boys and girls from all 4,500 engineering colleges, 40,000 non-engineering colleges, deemed to be universities, and central universities, national IITs, triple ITs, and NITs to work in agricultural sector through technology. So with this, I would like to have your final words, and then I will close the webinar. Over to you for your final remark.
Thank you, sir. I think there is no final word we discussed in detail. But one thing is that, like informality, tenancy is a reality that we have to take into account, recognize that it is a reality in Indian farming sector, and we must address it. And we can address it through different collaborative pathways. I think we have to prioritize with the pathways which are easy, which we can do it together, which no, which coming in between.
yeah.
So, which we can do it together, and taking from the learning that has already happened here, and we see that how we can scale it up. And at the same time, we try to work with government. We try to work around digitization initiative. Try to see how we can legalize this tenancy arrangements, because that is the only solution which can really make the agriculture transformation or doubling farm income more inclusive. So we need to make it inclusive of our farmers, all farmers. That's one, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I will send you an draft MOU, and we can sign. and let us take up pilot projects in every state. And we'll also have under this one, land policy reforms or doubling farm and income, we will have 28 states related projects. We'll have a separate reform series and a land policy reform series, and in the national webinar series in association with Center for Land Governance and Center for Agricultural Informatics e-governance studies. And we will have this one, and we also bring it out maybe that once in 15 days one state. Let us bring this one and bring in. Let us make the policy planners listen to us. It's very
Sure, sure.
important. So
Thank
thank
you.
you very much. And
Thank you.
with this, I would like to thank the Honorable Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor, faculty members, our guest speaker, and the participants for making this webinar so successful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we leave.